Somebody asked me to speak more about women in the New Testament. If I were to include the Theotokos in this, the Blessed Virgin Mary, it would be about 20 videos long. You guys know how much I can talk about her. Somebody said I always smile when I mention her. I don't know. I guess it's a good thing. We call Mary Magdalene an apostle. Some of those coming out of Protestantism to a form of Protestant atheism, basically, balk at that and say, no, that would never have been believed in ancient times. Now, granted, these people are not historians, and they don't know anything about the history of the church, but they say this anyways. Well, there's a woman named Junia who's called an apostle. She's called the Apostle of the Lord. And the name got shifted to the masculine. Now, I do not accept that this was done for any ideological reasons. Why? Because we have Priscilla and Aquila, husband and wife, going around evangelizing. They're actually even correcting people. They heard somebody speak in a synagogue, which is where Christians had gathered as well, and said, well, we'll tell you a clear form of what you believe. They were an evangelist team. I believe they were even, I don't know if they were preceding or they were following Paul at one point. You kind of have to understand something about the household for what I'm about to go into. The household was run by women, and it pretty much was up until about 30, 40 years ago. In some cases, it still is. The churches were based, the first parishes were out of households. In fact, the house of Peter, which had an octagonal Byzantine church built around it, was originally a house. You have Lydia and Chloe, you have these people running churches, being the heads of churches. I mean, if you want to say bishop is overseer, then these were female bishops, actually. Not I mean, using the word as overseer, somebody who deals with the issues going on there. Theologically, it was probably one of the apostles, or Paul, or Apollos, or Timothy, or maybe even Junia. I don't know. But the New Testament, I mean, you even have Paul saying, male and female equal. You have the image of marriage hearkening back to the second creation story. No, the first one. Which Shelby Spong, he takes somebody using the analogy of man shouldn't be separated from woman in the second creation story and says that's the one they use. Well, in fact, they use both, and the one that's most emphasized is the first one, where both male and female, they were created in God's image. And he created man, both male and female, in his image. Who was at the tomb? Oh, it was the women. Where were the men in this situation? Running for their lives. Were there women gathered in the upper room at Pentecost? Yeah, you bet they were. Who gets more play as the guiding role in Christ's life? The Theotokos or Joseph? I mean, think of any ancient religious text, and I mean ancient, or even any ancient text at all, and then check out the Gospels. How much Mary, Martha, Mary Magdalene. I mean, how many times they're mentioned? They're part of his entourage. Now, looking at it from a post-Cotton Mather, post-Puritan form of Protestantism, yeah, you can use it to hold women down. I mean, what does Paul say? Men or women submit to your husbands as if they were Christ. Men, you know, what is it? Treat your women like it's the church or the apostles, something like that. Christ laid down his life and died for them. Every time that the apostles said something or wanted to do their own thing, Christ forgave them, or even betrayed them, Christ forgave them. Apostles didn't necessarily do that to Christ. This is kind of the first time we see women on an even footing. Now, so, well, ancient text. So this woman ran this barbarian clan, or there was a queen here that did this. Okay, royalty and leaders doesn't really apply to common people. And we see a faction of early Christians where the women are remaining virgins. This was very powerful for this is actually a form of feminism in the ancient world. And I'm not using it in the horrid way that what's called feminism now. But the New Testament, I mean, one of the things that the Romans complain about is that they're turning women against the husbands, or they're telling women not to marry. Well, if a woman stays a virgin, right? She's not living among her parents. She doesn't have a male over her. There's nobody over her. Except possibly law. They're breaking with these customs of old. So there's no, I mean, there's nothing in place there to keep women separate. I mean, is there any negative, you can find negative female characters in the Old Testament. Do you find any negative ones in the New Testament? Oh, what? Salome's mother? That's it. They use an analogy of the whore of Babylon, which isn't a woman, and Jezebel, which is basically a name. I mean, it's like calling somebody Benedict Arnold. But you have the Mother Church. You have, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, for a document that old, for documents, this isn't just, oh, it's only in this book. I mean, it's wide throughout it. It's pretty shocking, and it was very shocking. I mean, we might look at it as, oh, it's whatever. Very shocking at the time that it was being read. Very scandalous. I mean, if somebody thinks the Communist Manifesto is shocking for the 19th and 20th centuries, multiply that by 20, and you're still nowhere near what the texts of the New Testament were for late antiquity, mid to late antiquity, the Roman Empire. So not even to go into the fact that when it was the church's authority, why would you? I mean, what would altering a document that no one read, that none of the people that you were controlling read, they just heard you read it? What would that do? That would be like if I wrote this big thing of protest on the wall and then painted over it immediately. Well, no one's ever going to see that. That I'm going to try to infect the masses by writing this on a wall and then immediately painting over it. It doesn't. It's not a very good way to get your doctrine through. Writing encyclicals, writing letters, I mean, that's a way to get your point across. Not changing a vowel in an obscure name. But the yeah, women in the New Testament. Yeah, that's why when Shelby Spong, I mean, he's just a bitter old bitch. I do not like that guy. I mean, he's just maybe that was the fault of modern day Christians misunderstanding these things, or at best misapplying them. And that's not how the ancient church acted. I mean, go to any actual serious scholar, one that, reads the ancient Greek, one that teaches at a respectable university. They're not going to agree with Spong. They probably will say, yeah, they had this radical view of women, and that was shut down for about 1,500 years, and we still haven't regained it back, because you still hear people bitch who are not in the discipline of history, and certainly not in the area of New Testament. And they'll bitch about, the Bible was used to keep people down. The authority of church figures was used, and they would use by proof texting, but read in totality, you read Romans and get anything less than women are equal, I don't think you could get that. I don't think you could get anything less than women are equal in Romans. Unless you're a complete docetist, you say, well, women are equal to men in spirituality, but not in... I like it in belief and before God. And how do Christians treat each other? As if they're before God, and only in that way. That's why rich people didn't have any status in the church. I'm rich. That guy's a slave. Well, that slave is your bishop, so okay, yeah, it wasn't. Look at Thecla, for God's sake. Read the Acts of Paul and Thecla. Paul keeps running away and refusing to baptize her, and God affirms her baptism when she baptizes herself. Female lions are pitted against male lions. All the female animals are defending Thecla from the horrid male animals. The Empress faints, and the crowd takes this as a sign that Thecla is miraculous, and it's pretty shock. Christianity was very shocking. I'd actually say thought much more highly of women than modern day feminism does, because modern day feminism actually says women have to have special rights because they're being treated delicately. Women you need to treat them delicately. They're so much more gentle and breakable. But don't you dare say that. Women in the early Christianity were marching to their deaths. Who is the only character that could get away with chastising Christ? The Theotokos. God incarnate is being talked to by a lowly, smelly female Palestinian. Yep, damn straight. The whole reason with the tradition of the Easter egg, Mary Magdalene. Is it any coincidence that that's the prevailing tradition that penetrates even the most secular of expressions of Christianity? I don't think that's a coincidence. I mean, these women were powerful. You read through the New Testament and just notice the women. You'll be pretty busy trying to count how many times women are mentioned with authority.